this morning, so
Oh, is it okay
um,
now or is it
I
still a
think so.
problem?
I think I fixed it, but that's why I was late. I couldn't get in here, so
All right, all right. So how are you doing, Daniel?
I'm well. I'm well. And
Were you
you?
able to visit any temples?
No, I have plans. I'm going on Sunday actually. I didn't. I couldn't find some time, but I'm going this Sunday.
All right, okay. So we'll wait for your questions next week. Whatever you have from the temples.
Yeah.
Okay, from the previous week talks and whatever we spoke about the caste system and other things, do you have questions, concerns?
Um, I have a question. I'm not sure how to exactly phrase it, but there's an emphasis on um living in the moment, and for not that's not quite the right word, but the idea of bringing to the present the best of you, i.e., your duty, fulfilling your duties, and then not worrying about the outcomes of those things. That seems to be kind of a central tenet, and I'm wondering like how not worrying about the outcome doesn't end up making you make worse decisions. Does that make
No, that
sense?
that is not the concept. The concept is not to worry about the outcome. The concept is not to be attached with the outcome.
Mm,
It's not to worry about. You do plan, you do your things properly, you do your planning properly, but whatever happens, you're not so attached to it that you cannot take it if it does not happen,
right.
or you get over attached to it when it happens.
Right.
So concept is not to get attached to it. You always
Yeah, and
plan
I
and
guess
you always do the best.
maybe I equate too much of attachment and worry, and those aren't really the same thing. You're right.
No, worry is also like it's a part of attachment because you keep worrying about it, then you don't focus on your actions
Right.
and they get I would say, colored. They get impacted by the other things that are in your mind.
Right.
So that's what the whole concept is. It's not that you don't pay attention to the outcome, but you don't get attached to it.
Hmm.
Attachments to anything needs to be given away. That's
Right.
the basic concept of the whole thing.
Right. And I think I have an easier time with wrestling with that idea looking backwards as opposed to looking forward. So it's like I can get the idea of not attaching to the past, learning but not attaching to the past. And and I'm not saying that it's not the wise approach. It's just not doesn't come naturally to not um, be so attached to what might happen in the future. That's going to be my
That's probably a way to do it, or practice yourself
yeah.
to make yourself ready for it for future. But it's the both thing, past and future.
Yeah, and I think worrying is a bit of like our biological wiring to get us ready for the future. It just becomes when it's done to the level of what maybe we would consider worry. It's no longer a healthy instinct. So yeah, I mean perhaps I think maybe it was just the difference between attachment versus worry. But I understand how those are different.
Yeah. Now, when I spoke about the caste system to you, the negatives in the caste system all started happening when the caste was determined not by one's profession, education, or training, but by one's birth.
Right, heredity instead of aptitude.
Correct. So once the heredity and the birth and the things came out in the society, that is when the caste system started happening,
Mhm.
having its negative and bad effects. I cannot tell you that if we can trace it back in the history as to when exactly that happened, but certainly a few years, or let's say about 100 years after Buddha had died, and Buddhist uh, had become the power center, then these things had started happening. We have records of that. And then it became worse when the Islamic rulers and the British rulers came, and it became bad.
Hmm.
And that is what has started creating all the negativities in the caste system. What also happens is this, that once we establish somebody as a superior caste, who is not who is not superior because of his uh, work in the society or whatever, but is superior because he thinks I'm born into this family,
Yes.
then always the superior people will inflict hurt on the those people that are treated as inferior.
Yeah.
That happens in every society everywhere.
Yeah.
So these are the ills that had happened in the caste system,
Right.
and this is what the most of the Western world calls as the caste system, or even in India we call it as a caste system. But even today, there's a huge gap, and there's a huge, what would I say, political mileage out of it, and all those things. So
Hmm. Well, what it does
let's,
is it any sort of issue that can be lead to an in-group out-group situation where you're able to say I'm in a upper echelon simply because of who I am. There, I don't have to do anything about it. It's like this is the absence of the duty aspect of it, right? So this is, oh, you're just handed your prestige as opposed to arriving at it through good deeds. Anytime you can do that, it's like politically powerful. Like they do that the in the southern United States particularly well with like white supremacy. So it's like you might be born, you might be poor, and your country's not looking after you, but look, you're white, so that gives you this inherent upper hand, and and that's a very powerful thing, particularly for people that don't have much else. It's very like a useful sort of lever to control people, and it's all like you said. It's not just India, and it's not just the southern United States. It's everywhere. There's just something about that's just a weakness we have that can be preyed upon.
and it usually goes through with the mob mentality. It's
Yeah.
the mobs that form this way or that side, and they
Hmm.
start imposing, and so that's how it happens
Hmm.
mostly.
Hmm.
But that's what has been there. Whatever is the reality of the caste system and how it should be done is what I have explained to you in the early. I can't say that people follow it, but that's how it should be done.
Hmm.
And there are people, of course, in every society there are people who do follow the right things and they don't, but there are people who do it. There is also a place in the in one of our Upanishads where it says that you have to look at it in this way, that a caste system does not exist in this society as a society thing, it exists in a human body also. Because the feet are always giving you a service, they're working for you, they're doing the best to take you around. Your belly is the one that is always bothered about the trade and business and things because it needs to fill itself.
Right.
Your arms are always there to protect you, like the society is protected by certain people. And your head up here is the one that thinks about what should be done and what should not be done.
Right.
So why do you want to segregate that this person is of this person is of this? Nobody's higher, nobody's lower, nobody's bigger, nobody's smaller. When you lie down, they're all on the same level and they're all working their best way as they can.
Right.
So there is no question about superiority or not. So this is how it is explained.
Yeah, it's a symbiotic relationship, right? Like you can't you if you take away one, all the other ones get weaker. Like it
That's true.
works.
That's
Yeah.
correct. That's how it is done. So that was the thing that we spoke about last week. And uh, any of these things, you have any other questions before I move further?
No, but it was a very interesting one. I was talking to my wife about it all week. It was quite interesting.
All right. Did she have the understanding and did she come up with some questions? And
Yeah, I mean, she's an elementary school teacher, so she's a little closer to kind of our modern day attempt at some of that stuff than others would be, right? Like this idea of streaming people into areas of aptitude is very close to her profession. And so it was an interesting thing to sort of consider, you know. We have the thought that we kind of landed on is, you know, we have this idea now where you have this dream occupational calling. So what you do for a job is supposed to provide you fulfillment. You need to find your passion and your dream job, and then somehow that's your way to finding fulfillment in life, which I think is very misguided. But that is an ideal that we sort of hold up high. And at the same time, it seems like a lot of things we've done have moved away from traditions like what we talked about last time, which are designed to help find that path based on a person's aptitude as opposed to based on their where they're coming from, you know, geographically, biographically, whatever it is, economically. A lot of that now drives those choices as opposed to aptitude. And the other thing that really stuck out to me is that top level, not top isn't the right word, the fourth group that we talked about, sort of the aesthetic one, the one that's based on study. There's been a scaling up of half of it and a scaling down of the other half. So we do, you know, that's why I mentioned doctors seem more like they're service oriented. And you had said, oh, it's because of the amount of the duration and amount of education required that they fall into that last group, that it's really like a intellectual pursuit because of the education. And so we've really leaned into the value on sort of what I'll say the lower level of that fourth group and the upper level of the economic group. We really emphasized that pocket of people or valued them, and we at the expense of the people that sit to the more spiritual side of the academics, so like the spiritual pursuits, and then the people that are immediately beside the economically well off, right? So it's like there's this little pocket that we've really focused on, and we've missed the groups that sit just outside. And you know, it does speak to, it seems to speak to some of the stuff we struggle with in society all the time. um, you know, this lack of direction and fulfillment and sort of the emptiness that, you know, pursuing strictly economic success will have on your life. So
You're right. You know, when we speak about the um, four levels, certainly every level needs economic backup to support the
right,
person, the family, and everything else. Every level.
right.
But money is to work for money, or rather, if I talk about, like you use the example of doctors, if I'm going to use about any of the professions that are in that level where people are highly educated or education was the bane,
Hmm.
the work for money was not there. They were not supposed to sell their services per se to make
Right,
money.
right,
Also, because the ministers and the other advisors and the priests all came from the same sort of a backup, they were not supposed to be working for money.
right,
If they rose above the interests that sort of bind them because of economic reasons, then only can they perform their duties properly.
right,
Otherwise they get corrupted.
right.
So that was one. See, one a person, if let's say if there was a doctor, and the doctor, I'm just using example, and the doctor was very much, let's say, money oriented, or demanded a fee, or were always wanting certain amount, he would certainly be pushed back into the fourth or the level of the workers by the society itself.
Right.
And there was nothing wrong in it. They would tell him, you don't use this name, you use this name.
Right.
because you are using your services more as your service oriented more than profession oriented,
Right.
education oriented.
Yeah, and
So
the interesting twist on that is like you don't even have to. It's not like a shameful thing. It's just a thing, meaning, yeah, you're going there. You just need to celebrate or embrace what you are. Like we need to correctly
that's
figure it out, as opposed to, and that's a lot of what we struggle with is like this trickery, things that are sold as, and a true attempt at healing, which are not. They're actually an attempt at making money. Like that's where the pharmaceutical industry gets into ethical, hot water, because it's like if you're running a company to make money, strictly, um, they have this opportunity to, like, let's say partially heal, you know, and then that keeps you on the hamster wheel of continual medication. It's just one example, but there's a lot of that kind of stuff where the economic incentive shouldn't be the primary. We do that with doctors a lot too. It's like they'll say, "Oh, we don't pay our doctors enough. We need to pay doctors a lot more so that we can attract um, the best doctors." And I always wonder if there's something like counterintuitive or wrong about that. Like I don't know what the actual answer is, but maybe we don't want the doctors that are being brought here because we pay more. You know what I mean? Like maybe you want the doctors that are in being doctors because they're interested in being doctors. You know what I mean? Like there is the financial motivation sort of robs it of this ethical lane that it inherently has.
that is why the financial motivation should be detached.
Hmm.
Otherwise, the aim gets lost, the
Yeah,
purpose gets lost. That's the whole idea about it. And very sad that the whole world today is more financial oriented than anything else.
yeah. It's our number one
Yeah,
pursuit.
correct. And
I'd make the
that's what
argument
it is.
that it's replaced religion for a lot of people. We have this faith in the economic systems of the day.
Yeah, it has. It has, correct. This is why
Which,
people are getting disoriented and
yeah,
get non-motivated from the religion and other things.
yeah. Even our religious traditions have been taken over a lot of the times. Like if you look at what Canada does with Christmas, let's say, um, it's much more a celebration of economic flourish than it is of
Yeah.
spiritual reflection, right? It's
Yeah.
now like, let's go buy a bunch of stuff.
To
The
push
best
and
thing,
sell and push and sell, and that's what it is. And to
yeah,
show off.
right. And so now it's us kind of like paying tribute to an economic deity of some sort, where it's like everybody feels better because you're contributing to the economy by buying stuff. And we have this collective, like, feel good moment.
When I was in I just came up to my mind when I was in the marketing and I used to meet the customers all over. Here in Ontario, somewhere north of Peterborough, I had met a customer of mine who who had told me that for many, many, many years during Christmas, all his father would give him was an apple put in a socks,
Right,
a single sock.
right,
And he said that next year the same pair of the other pair of the sock would be given to me with an apple in it.
right,
And that was my Christmas gift for many, many, many years till
right,
I really grew up. And now he says today, when I have my own kids, I make toys with my own hands using the wood.
right.
And I keep doing it for like 5 or 6 months and then have two or three of them and then I gift it to my kids because I cannot afford to keep going into the malls and buying. I mean, this is the really people, human beings who are in the society,
Right. And what
and
a
yet
wonderful thing that is.
and yet we are trying to push and shove to people who need to buy this and buy that and buy that.
It's interesting because when you're telling me that story, on one level, I'm saying to myself, what a wonderful thing. And what a beautiful, it's true gift giving as opposed to going off of somebody's list and just spending money. So that's a wonderful thing. But then there's another, like the brainwash side of me. I can't even help it, but you start to think like, oh, it's kind of sad that this guy can't buy his kids the toys. And it's like that's that cultural brainwash coming in saying like, oh no, this guy can't be happy making these toys. He must want to buy the toys. And really, when you think about it, how much more does this guy get out of a making the toys and thinking about the person? And it's like what a more rich experience. But my cultural brainwashing tells me to feel bad for him, despite the fact that he probably got way more out of that than I got out of buying my son some piece
You
of
see,
plastic
we
last Christmas.
we are trained this way by the society that we start feeling
Hmm.
the economical impact immediately, that he must be so poor or so
Exactly.
sad,
Yeah.
all those things. But
Yeah.
look at it, I'll tell you, I'll end up the story with this, that when I was leaving his house, and he offered me that from my garden, or whatever my property is, I have a number of trees that are maple trees, and I can give you a bottle of maple syrup.
Hmm.
He is not concerned about it, that he wants to sell it to me or whatever. He just
Right.
wants to gift it to me because I
Right.
went to see him.
Right.
You see, that thing is there in the person. I mean, I'm sure that he can sell those bottles, and he must be doing it or may not be doing it. I don't know those things.
Right.
But that part is there in the human being also.
Hmm.
So somewhere, the economic forces, or let's say the system that we have, hurts and disturbs the entire fabric. And that's what happens in all societies everywhere in the world.
I guess when it goes beyond um, what it can provide in terms of comfort and fulfillment of duty, right? So it's okay to pursue money if you need to feed your family, if you need a house, and all of these things, future comfort and education. These are noble pursuits. But when it goes beyond pursuit of that and becomes pursuit of material possessions or pursuit of money for the sake of money, like there's that double perversity where it's like, oh, I'm not even just interested in more material items, I just want more money. Like it's not even giving me anything anymore. There is an echelon in our society where it's like, okay, you just keep making more and more. At some point you've maximized utility. Like there's no, you win the game. It doesn't matter if you double your money. It literally is not going to change your life.
That's
And
right.
yeah.
That's right. It's a waste then.
Mhm.
It's more of a waste.
And it actually
Anyway,
probably provides like some negative things to your life when you can't. Can you imagine having that much money and not being able to spend it? Like you clearly you're in some sort of jail. You're trapped.
that's problem. That you're trapped. But then the thing is this, that you don't understand the trappings, and you just keep multiplying
Right.
and you increase your trap. That's
Yeah.
what is happening all the
And you
time.
think you're winning the whole time, I
Yeah,
guess.
that's correct. That's what a person thinks all the time.
One.
Anyway, let me get to another. Let's start working further.
Please.
And I'm going to tell you that, just like we told you, or that's why I told you in the beginning, that every single thing in the world, everything is made out of atoms. So we believe that every atom has three properties in it. As I told you, that atoms are made out of what we call parmanus, the ones that are in the beginning, and modern science has not yet been able to reach that end. But every parmanu has those three strengths that are inside those parmanus, that are inert into it. So they are interfacing inert into it, they're sleeping. All of them have the three forces in them, which we call today as proton, electron, and neutron. But every one of them has it. For us at that level, we call it the sattva, rajas, and tamas. That's the word we use, sattva, rajas, tamas, at that level. Now, those properties at that level, we call them as gunas. Gunas means quality more than anything else. When the quality is there and they start making the atoms, they get associated according to the quality because now they are extroverted and they start interacting with each other.
Sorry, quality as in generally good, or quality as in like it's blue or it's round or it's soft?
Quality, as in something that's going to impact and imbibe or give a certain type of quality into everything it makes.
So,
Good or bad is not there.
okay, got it.
Whatever it does. Now, it could be color, quality might mean that it's cold or it's hot or it's white colored or yellow colored. It doesn't make a difference.
So it's not a
Yeah,
value judgment, it's
yeah,
a
there's no value
characteristic.
judgment to it.
Got it.
So that's what we call gunas at that level. Once they start making things, we have a different name other than sattva, rajas, and tamas. And then we have third set of names when things get made by the, like atoms are made and they start making other things by atoms, which is the five basic elements. So when they start making the five basic elements, we have different name for it. But herein lies the thing that because each of them have that three qualities in it, everything that is made in this universe and world contains those three qualities. Everything. So let's put it this way, that including our thinking, our mind, our egos, our intellect, everything has those three qualities because everything is made from that. Similarly, everything that we consume as food also has those three qualities. So we say that those people, those three qualities, when it comes typically as quality and is imbibed into other places, what is the impact? The impact of what we call as proton, or what we call as sattva, in its truest form, not in the atomic form, but in the truest form, is always a positive quality that makes you think good, think positive, think better. On the other hand, the neutron, which we call as tamas, the name itself suggests that it is dark, which means that it lacks the brightness or the lightness, or it lacks knowledge or intellect or whatever you will call it. So it is the heavy content. Now that becomes the physically heavy thing also. So when we look at the earth, typically, earth is heavy in its gross way. So mud is heavy, rocks are heavy, all these things are heavy. That means that anything that you are consuming that has more of a weight in it, has more of a tamas in it, or more of the neutron quality in it. Whatever you're eating that gives you very good strength immediately, or intellect, helps you intellect, or helps you think broader, or makes you positive, has got more of a proton level in it, or we call it sattva in it. And anything that makes you active, excited, has more of the middle one, that is the rajas, or the electron quality in it. Because this is how it works in an atom. At the center is always the neutron, which gives the body or the weight of the atom. Protons are always all around, but they are quiet. They are not very disturbed. They are
Mhm.
very peaceful. And electrons are the ones that are jumping all around all the time.
Right.
So if you look at it this way, we believe that everything has the similar, because everything is made out of these. So everything has a similar sort of a quality, so to say, nature or type in them, everything that is there. So we even say that this food is a tamasic food, or which means it is a dark or a bad or a not good quality food because it's going to make you lazy, or it's going to make you heavy, or it's going to make you think negative. Similarly, we say on the other side that this is rajasic food, or the one that is going to make you excited or going to make you think like I'm going to work all the time or sweat all the time and all those things. And on the other side, that is the food that we say that this is sattvic food. Simple food that helps you, helps your system, gives you positivity, makes your system work better, and stuff like that. So when we divide things like this, We have these qualities to be understood, that because it is part of the creation, this is how the creation is made. Everything in the creation has these qualities. Everything. Now, when I'm going to talk about something that is manufactured, if I'm going to talk about this computer, certainly it has a body weight. The body weight, the body structure, the shape, everything has been provided by the neutrons, so to say. That's sort
Not
of what is
actual
happening.
neutron zone, like not the
Yeah, not
scientific
actual
neutron.
neutrons, but so to say,
Right.
to represent the quality factor of it.
Got it.
But the working of it is more of a done a process that has happened because of the electrons. But it can be used for good and bad and everything else.
Hmm.
So the impact of it, as far as its quality of transmitting strength goes, that is the positive part of it, or that's the proton part of it. Message can be anything.
Hmm.
All three of this can be included in the message that is being given to people who are listening to it or speaking it. Similarly, everything in the world is has these three essential qualities in it. Our bodies, our physical bodies, everything, the nature's products, everything in the world has these three qualities in it. Even if we talk about earth or sky or ether or space or wind or fire, everything has the three qualities. And everything works like with these three qualities. But again, when we say that all of these things have, everything in the creation has these three qualities, because everything is made out of those atoms or parmanus, we believe that once the parmanu or the atom becomes active from a sleeping state when the world is not created, once it becomes active, the activeness in it is given because of the God content in it, because of a little bit of a presence of the God content. That is what makes it active. Of course, you can say that it can be fire, it can be water. They are two different qualities totally, but they are active.
Hmm.
Similarly, because everything is made from these uh, atoms, human beings and human bodies are also made from these atoms. This is what is the cause to believe that every living thing in this universe has that little bit of God content within him or her. And this is how we believe that we are able to reach out to the Maker through our own selves. We do not need any outer source. All we need to do is internalize and meditate. The example used, you might have read it in Bhagavad Gita, is that of a tortoise. That just like a tortoise squeezes all its body parts and comes into its own shelter and shell and sleeps or concentrates. This is exactly how it is said that withdraw yourself from the worldly things and your sensory organs and concentrate inside to look and seek for the Maker. Because everybody has the person inside. The other way it is used is that every human being, particularly, would have sometimes or the other in his life heard a voice of his subconscious mind that tells him do it or don't do it, or that stops him from doing something wrong, or that encourage him from doing something good, or even as simple as this, that if you have seen some situation where suddenly you come of help to somebody and you have helped somebody out of your way and just normal very small little thing, but it makes you feel extremely happy,
Hmm.
makes you feel content from inside that I have done a good job today.
Hmm.
Now, that is the feeling that comes to you from the inside. Every human being has this. If we start concentrating and meditating on that particular voice, that comes during all these times and periods, and we don't shut it off. We listen to it. That is what helps us in future to be more meditative and listen to the voice of the Maker who speaks to us all the time. The Maker is there in everybody. Most of the people would shut that voice. If I'm going to do something in the workplace or professionally, I would start shutting that voice. No, I don't want to listen to this. I need to do it this way. I need to do it this way. I'm told. So what happens is that the voice that comes from inside, we try to quieten it. Very early in my life, when I'm told that I'm supposed to be a good student, I'm not supposed to do this, I'm not supposed to do that, I start shutting off that voice within me. So very early in my life, I learned to do it. I also know that something in me tells me that I should not, but I rarely listen to it. When I'm fooling a woman that what, let's go together and I'm going to be with you all your life, I really love you, I'm trying to make a fool of her, but I know from inside that it is wrong, yet I don't listen to it. Those things start becoming a part and parcel or a habit of a human being, and that's what starts determining a human being's life for the longer part of it. Yet, all of it, looking it back again from karma, is somewhere or the other a mental karma that has its negative and positive impacts that will come back as a fruit and will pay back.
Mhm.
So, this is how we link it together when we say that the God or the Maker is within every living being. Also, many a times, most of the human beings, we have always practiced it and felt it. Many a times we have sort of hidden wishes or hidden desires that we never speak to anybody. We don't talk about it ever, but they come about, they come true. And it happens because somebody is listening to you. And that somebody who's listening to you is the one who's present. And if the person who's present listening to your voice that has been not spoken to anybody at all ever, but it is all within you, that means the person inside or the power inside is also listening to every negative thought or negative deed that you are doing. This is the way we believe in it.
Mhm.
And this is why we say that there is that little bit of God content present in every human being and everybody. In Gita, elaborately, it talks about how to reach that power, how to meditate on it, and why should we listen to it all the time, and how can we get out of the troubles in our lives by listening to it. What happens is this, that when you are concentrating on, let's say, that every morning before you go to work, you spend half an hour only praying to whatever form of God you believe in. Doesn't matter what you believe in, but you start praying to the form of God you believe in, sing his hymns or make praises for him, or say, talk about all good things that are there in the system or whatever is there. Obviously, now throughout the day, there is some impact of it that will be with you. And you would probably not do evil things because you've been talking about good in the morning of your life. It's the same thing that when they say that think about him all the time and you will not do the wrong. If you think about the maker or the creator most of the time or all the time, and you know that he's present and he's looking at me or he knows what I'm doing all the time, one would not do a wrong.
Mhm.
One would abstain from anything that is negative and bad. That is the concept of trust in maker and my finding him there and really believing him to be omnipresent, because that is what omnipresent is all about. And this is the thought and the belief that comes to our minds when we talk about it. I'm going to also move into a fact of telling you about our physical bodies and our souls. How do we look at it from the Hindu perspective? We believe that there are four stages or aspects to a physical body, as well as there are four aspects or stages to a soul. How do we explain to you? The basic aspect, let's look at our bodies. Basic aspect is the physical body that we all know. I have it, you have it, we look at it, we understand that it is there. The second one is what we call it as ethereal body, that exists in the ether but is there, and we call it the ethereal body. The third one, we call it as the causal body. That is the cause of the ethereal and the physical body. So it is a causal body. Just like we say there has to be a seed for anything that happens in this world. So if there is a seed, there will be a plant. And if there's a plant, then the whole tree will have it, and there'll be fruits on the tree, and everything else will be there. So there has to be a causal body that creates the body for us, physical and ethereal. And finally, we call it the astral body. The astral body gets rid of the seed or the cause, but it exists. I'm going to explain this whole theory to you, also tell you how do we look at it and how do we support it. But before that, I'll tell you that this is exactly the same format for the souls also. So, exactly the same way, there are four types of souls. Physical body, let me explain to you this way, that I'm not trying to confuse you. We believe there are, in the whole of the atmosphere or the galaxy that we live in, there are three levels of atmosphere that are there. One of them is the level which till which the um, gravity system works. Until the height where the gravity system works is one level. We call it the earth level, or we call it the Prithvi. Prithvi is the name for the earth. So we call it the Prithvi level. The second level beyond it is what we call the Antariksh, or you can call it the space. So that is the Antariksh. And the final one on top of all of it is what we call as Dyulok. Dyu, Dyu. So it's Dyulok. Dyu is the one that is beyond the space and is there in the, let's call it the whole galactic or the our own particular galaxy system. Now, it is the Dyulok that starts giving when it is made, because it is also made from the same Parmanus. It is the Dyulok that starts giving the powers or creating creative powers to whatever is made and ultimately given to us. From there, the next level is where the things get transformed into more of a useful nature for all of us. So, what that means is that the Dyulok gives power to the sun, but the sun really gets placed in the Antariksh and starts getting its power and starts giving us the power from there. But finally, the effect is felt only when it is on the earth level. So, in this level is where we really feel the things and happen, use it and take it. But they're all of them are started at an upper level, and then they flow into the next and the next. We believe that there are 49 different types of winds that flow in the second level or the space level, that create all types of winds that are created in our earth level. And that's how they come and impact us, including one which allows to bring the breath for the living beings on the earth. And when it takes also, that's the one that takes the breaths and carries it with it, because breath is also one type of the wind that comes into us and goes. So this is the way we believe in different things. When a human being, a human souls When this creation is not made, the human souls would go into a cloud that would be in the highest level, in the dew lok, and they would stay there. But once the world or the creation system works, then the bodies or the souls that are leaving the bodies will go and stay at a level which is the antariksh level or the space level. That is where certain types of clouds are generated, or let's say that a system is generated from the winds that appears as clouds when it comes to the earth level, to the level of the earth or the level where gravity works. This is how the bodies, or rather the souls, work. Once a person dies, the soul rises out. It goes up just like a vapor goes with the sun's light. Even if it's in the night time, there still is the vapor that goes up. So it goes up like a vapor and it goes and settles in the clouds. The clouds are created in the space level, the second level. So the souls go up to the second level. They don't go to the final level because that is where they go when the whole creation is being made or remade, or this system is not there where they can be born. Second level is where the souls go and rest. And when they go and rest there, of course, they have left their physical body here. Along with the physical body, they also leave their ethereal bodies here. They also leave their causal bodies, and the only body that exists at that time is the astral body. I will explain all of these in detail to you and how the concepts are worked. When the soul has to take birth again, it enters, transforms, or moves from the antariksh or the space level. And when it starts moving, it grabs its ethereal body. When it grabs its ethereal body, then with the ethereal body, it comes and settles into the clouds that we see physically with our eyes. When those clouds have rainfall or snowfall or any other way of coming, even moist, that falls down the clouds, that is how these souls come into the earth. They come into the earth and they get into the earth in the mud or in the mother earth, and they get settled there. From there they start getting into the green vegetation or plants or fruits or trees. Now this can happen very, very, very quickly. What this means is, for us human lives, we can say that in a plant this can be transformed in a day or 2 days or even a few hours. So once this plant is eaten by somebody, that causal soul has now entered into that physical body, whoever has consumed it, and is there in the person to regenerate or whatever that happens. Obviously, obviously the whole day we are eating and whole day we are not regenerating and we are wasting it or throwing it away, and it goes away back into the earth in whichever way it goes flow backs into the sky with the vapor, goes into the sky again, into the clouds again, falls back again tries. So this soul can be trying this process for multiple times. However, there is always something or the other that is consuming it and retaining the energies, forming the energies into the system. And also remember that these souls also have a predetermined way of going into certain bodies and not going into certain bodies. This also I will explain to you. This has got its fallback on karma and the fruits of karma. But this is how the souls get into any body. And then It is in the man's body and the woman's body, or man's body, and then it gets transmitted. And that's how a kid or a baby is conceived. Once the conception of a baby is done, the ethereal body comes into that womb and settles. And then gradually the physical body starts growing. Once the physical body is able to support, that's when the physical soul, along with the breath, comes into the baby. But till then, the ethereal soul has been trying to be there or not be there. This is the way we believe that human beings are transmitted or transmuted through, and that's how they take birth. Now, there are many theories along with it that I need to explain to you, because there are many questions that will come up to your mind when I'm telling this to you, principles to you. I will be answering them all to you. And I'll be also expanding on this much more to explain to you in detail as to how we believe that this whole thing happens. We, since we believe this, if a person who does not need to take birth ever again would have his soul on an astral level only, even the causal and ethereal soul factors would not be there anymore. Similarly, a astral body would be available to that soul, though it will not be attached to it. But the souls, when they come to this surface to get born again, they carry the same ethereal bodies that they have left previously. And they use the same ethereal body into the physical. Physical bodies can always be different. They will always be different. But ethereal bodies will not be different. Causal bodies will not be different. They will be the same, allotted to a soul. And once the soul enters from space into this part of the world, it will catch that same ethereal body, catch the same causal body. It will have the same causal body, and then it will catch the same ethereal body and come to the physical body inside here. This is why we say that the ethereal bodies contain of four main ingredients. Those four main ingredients are mind, intellect, conscious, and ego system. The conscious, more here, more is like a conscious bank or a memory bank. So it has a memory bank, it has an ego system of its own, it has intellect of its own, it's mind of its own. This is what goes out from the body, the physical body that dies, the ethereal body goes away. And once the soul has to come back, it grabs the same ethereal body and comes again to a physical body. All forms of the body, every single form, the four forms, every form of the body is made out of the mother nature or the matter. So they have the ingredients same as the mother nature or the matter has. All the bodies have the same three qualities in it because they have the same atoms that will make them, may create them. So they can be having a lot of good, they can be having a lot of bad, they can be having anything in between. This is how we believe that the system of soul and bodies work. Though I've given you a very, very basic framework, I'll be expanding on it more and more in our talks in future. I know
Hmm.
there'll be tons of questions that will come to your mind at this stage, but I will answer every one of them. I will answer every one of them.
Good. It's a big one for today. It's a
Yes, a
lot
lot to
to.
mull about. It's a lot to
Mhm,
mull about.
mhm.
Yes.
It's interesting. It maps on, like, not perfectly, but a lot of like modern science still kind of maps onto some of these concepts. So you just if you reframe it in a different way,
Yes, it does.
it's surprising how much you know you could relate between the two. So it's quite
Yes.
interesting.
Yes. We firmly believe that one day everything that is there in the Indo philosophy will be okayed by the modern science.
Mhm.
Might take another 100, 500 years, whatever, but that'll happen. So that's how we believe in it. So should we pause it here today and carry
Yes,
on the
let's.
next week?
Next Friday is good for me. You just let me know if it doesn't work.
Well, one
Um,
Friday on 26th of May, 26th of May, Friday, I would have an injection going into my eye on that day in the morning.
I
So
will
that
make a
time we
note.
will move it back to probably Wednesday again or see what we can do.
Yeah, you let me know.
Okay. Or we can move the time a little later and do.
Yeah, whatever works for you. I can make this. It's not that much time, so I can make it a priority on whatever day that week. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll work on it. We still have a month.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Take care, Daniel.
Okay. Thank you.
See you next Friday.
Bye.
Bye bye.